pleasure, sir, to have a conversation with you. Education is very dear to our hearts, and it's a pleasure to kind of get your thoughts on how we are shaping it in India. And you have a very key role in skilling India. So, Honorable Minister, we are seeing a global shift towards skill-first hiring. How is India's skilling ecosystem evolving to meet this new reality?
Skill first hiring, that's an interesting way of putting it. It's quite accurate. With the emphasis on technologies and the influence technology is having in our hiring processes, you're finding that more and more the qualitative assessment is becoming important. The holistic assessments are key to that hiring decision. And even our students, our policymakers, academicians, they're all stressing on the fact that our learning outcomes need to be improved. Second, emphasis on the shorter term courses because they tend to be more dynamic, demand driven, led by industry, led by those skill gaps. They are now in demand. So of course, in the Indian skilling domain, we have multiple avenues that we work on. One aspect is the ITIs, which have a footprint throughout the country. They do a lot of the longer term training. Of course, some of those institutions are also doing shorter term courses. Then we have the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, which provides a pathway for younger people to understand what it is like working with the big corporates in the manufacturing industry, on the shop and factory floors, what is the skills that are in demand, what is required of them. And then we have the PMKVY, which is the flagship scheme where we can do a lot of targeted initiatives, programs that have certain outcomes. And recently, under PMKVY, under the Special Projects Initiative, we've taken up things that have stressed outcomes, where there's blended finance. Think of it like a PPP, where some of the funding is also coming from a private partner or a donor. And as you know, while the public sector is very good at standardization, at policy making, at regulation, at providing scale, at ensuring equity of access, the private sector is also very good at mapping the outcomes because they have to report to their boards and their donors and their corporate entities. So a lot of innovation is happening, and I think Indian policy has a major thrust on skilling. This is a new ministry. This is not a ministry, it's not a vertical that we had earlier. Every ministry, every program today has a component of skilling, and our effort is to converge that. I don't view the skill ministry as a vertical ministry. It is actually more of a horizontal resource, a knowledge partner, and we are working very actively with industry, ensuring that the academia and industry collaboration is better. The national education policy, of course, gives us that mandate, gives us that freedom to break down silos, to stress on experiential learning, to move away from, what we call ratta or rote learning, to have more flexibility and freedom given to the students. One important reform that has come through, and it is still to take shape, but I have great hope. And that will really be something that defines the higher education landscape in India. And that is the embedded degree program, where UGCs come out with guidelines. They're actively talking to a number of universities, sensitizing them, telling them that now 50% of your work can be academic in classroom and 50% can be skilling. So that is how we can actually implement NEP in earnest, in toto. And then, of course, then we are telling the world that our young people coming out of the higher education institutions, coming out of the ITI, taking benefit of the PMKVY, having worked as apprentices, they are capable and they are skilled.
Fantastic. Very promising. Honorable Minister, one of the other things I'm very keen on coming from the business part of the equation, how can government and private sector come together to co-create skilling programs? See, we are seen as silos, how can we, directly address the current and future workforce challenges? Can we be partners in your skilling programs? Would be something we would like to know.
Absolutely, you have to be. Nothing hurts me more than when I hear a corporate leader say that we are not getting skilled people in India. And that's not the truth. Indian workforce, you have all hues and colors and capabilities throughout the length of breadth of India. There is a lot of talent. And it's the same Indians who are going abroad and making a mark and making a name for themselves. So I think it's about removing the information asymmetry. It's about building faith and confidence into the system. It's about making that certification valuable for the employer, for the student, aspirational for both ends of that spectrum. And there are many ways that private sector is already working with us, and now we also have come out with schemes and programs to actively facilitate that. The one scheme I'll talk about is the ITI upgrade. And I asked this room, you all have worked in different capacities in this sector. Do you know that before this, was there ever an emphasis at this scale with this kind of resource backing to reform the ITIs? Now we have a 60,000 crore, very complex, very ambitious program that we are still in the process of having stakeholder conversations and designing. And what the mandate is, that these ITIs, the traditional industrial training institutions, which certificate is still valued by at least the old industry. It's, even in PSUs, the big employers in our country, railways, they will always hire someone with an ITI certificate. This is a time when we are telling industry, come on board, help us in the governance structures of these institutions. We'll map it according to the industry clusters. We'll design the programs that focus on the needs of the local MSMEs that are close to these institutions. You can design your curriculum. You can do teacher training. You provide your trainers. And then you have an assurance on the quality of the product. You know that these young people in an ITI, say in Karkarduma, you know what is the talent that is coming out, and therefore there's a pathway for you, and there's a clear pathway to employment or even entrepreneurship for the young students. Out of the 60,000 crores, 30,000 will come from the center, 20,000 has to be given by the states, and 10,000 crore is through CSR. Apart from that, NSDC, where the government only holds 49%, that is the organization through which that works actively with our skill councils, works helping us design the PMKUIs, helping us affiliate the private training partners, looking at the quality, building curriculum, helping us with the Skill India Digital Hub. All of this is done by National Skill Development Corporation. And who holds 51%? It is corporate India. So these are the ways where we are already working with private sector, and if industry truly understands that skilling is the biggest challenge we have today, then half our battle is won. Up till now, Indian industry has competed globally on maybe cost competitiveness, because labor was cheap or resource was cheap, and we told the world whatever you're producing, we can produce cheaper. Now is the time when that cost competitiveness is going to go away, and you're going to have to say we can produce at a better quality or at a global quality. And that competitiveness, quality competitiveness, or competitiveness through innovation and new ideas will only come if we invest in our young people. And skilling has to be part of that.
No, absolutely. We've also seen in the industry, skills directly translate to higher paychecks going home. So we are very much aware of that. So from your vantage point, Honorable Minister, in terms of the advent of this AI and digital disruption, what are the three future-ready skills that India must focus on for its youth and workforce? From your vantage point, what do you think we should do for India?
See, AI, we're just having a discussion before this. AI is not like IT, where you create a whole vertical of engineers who are, from software to hardware, just looking at IT. AI is going to have an impact on agriculture, it's going to have already having an impact on education, it's having an impact on our skill ecosystem, it's having an impact on manufacturing, it's having an impact in consultancies.
Yes.
Tell me, I'm sure Accenture.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, and there are different estimations on what impact it's going to have on the workforce, On hiring, already there are solutions and companies that focus on AI-based hiring. So the disruption is real. In many senses, it is already here among us. And while there's a lot of fear, I do feel that some job roles are going to maybe perhaps be minimized. There will also be a space for augmented AI, which means the human intervention will remain perhaps at a higher skill level. And what this creates is a need for us to constantly reevaluate ourselves, looking at skilling, upskilling, and reskilling, and make it a national movement towards that end. So if you look at three sectors, for me, there are no three sectors. It's every sector. Every sector needs to have an AI component or a layer. I think every corporate in our country should have AI teams, from business development to manufacturing to efficiencies. Everything can be gamed using these solutions. In education, I'm happy to tell this August gathering that we're working very actively. AI future skills are much in demand with our young students. Even our Kendriya Vidyalaya, even our Navodaya Vidyalaya, even our tribal school students, they're very curious about these things. And on the 15th of July, we'll probably inaugurate an initiative that, something that I'm very passionate about. It came through an idea that germinated at the World Economic Forum at Davos recently when I visited, and that is skilling for AI readiness. Fantastic. We want to make an assertion that a large population in India, our young school-going children, are ready. They understand the ethics of using AI, they understand the tools. So it's not just a market, it's a whole system where we have a large number of disruptors and innovators, product makers who are comfortable using AI. So we're going to roll that out in schools from the 6th standard to the 12th standard. And there's going to be free online courses with the learning management system built in. A number of the tech vendors have come forward and they've been part of that journey with us. They've helped us design that program. And our regulator, which is the NCVET, National Council of Vocational Educational Training, has green-lighted this project. Fantastic. So hopefully on the 15th of this month, we'll start that initiative.
Very, very promising, Minister. So one of the things we also have seen is, learning is not episodic, it's more continuous learning. So we are seeing that there's not only just continuous learning, we're also seeing continuous assessment. And we also have ability now on functions like supply chain function, procurement function, finance function. What is getting disrupted? How much is it disrupted?
You have so many data points.
Yes.
So much generation of data, and you're able to analyze and manipulate that data and make critical value assertions based on that.
Absolutely. We are able to advise different industries. We are also able to advise ability to assess, and the assessment of, are they ready, are they capable, are they able to take up bigger jobs. We are able to do that, and that should give them confidence as well. We are happy to help there, Minister.
I think that's a key area. One thing that we need to work on together is to build an employability index for our country. And that, of course, will vary according to the trade, according to the sector, according to the industry. Every industry will have its threshold. And to populate that index, we already have so much data. You can use the ITI system, student database. We can use the Skill India Digital Hub, which is a DPI. And you can use that data and assess what is the percentage of these young students who are actually hireable.
We are looking at a concept called skill fingerprint, like a passport. Yeah. You have a skill fingerprint that will continue to evolve. That could be something.
So that is APAR ID. As you know, APAR is hitting record numbers every month. Brilliant. In terms of enrollment. And then that will enable the seamless kind of journey and a pathway of continuous learning, where if you're going to a skilling program and you put in your APAR ID, you can now start customizing and tailoring solutions for that one individual. So from school to higher education to skilling. APAR ID is, yes, in a sense, your education and skill.
It's a skill fingerprint, correct. So Minister, one of the other things we want to understand from you is, obviously skill development is inclusive and aspirational. A lot of people want to do good things. So especially in non-urban and among undeserved communities, what are the specific interventions your ministry is doing?
One is our JSS, Jan Shikshan Sansthan. It's a very old institution. It is run entirely by the social sector. There's about 289 active JSSs. They do, in terms of NSQF grading, They do the more rudimentary till about 3.5 or 4 and in the NSQF grading, and they do it at the doorstep. So that is one, and they are focused mostly on women. About 80 to 83% beneficiaries of that scheme are women. Apart from that, in our hilly areas, in our tribal areas, there is a mandate in terms of ITI affiliation. The norms are easier. And recently in our National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, we've instituted a new reform. I've recently announced it in my trip to Mizoram. And the idea there is we understand that in the Northeast region, there are very few local industries. So therefore, logically, our NAPS figures were very, very low for those Northeastern states. And so we were constantly evaluating and thinking on how we can boost those numbers. So one of the solutions that came across through our dialogue with stakeholders, and now we've instituted, is that any boy, any child from the Northeast, someone from Assam, for instance, and he's an apprentice in Mumbai. Earlier, he was not getting the benefit of the scheme. Now, anyone of Northeast domicile can work anywhere in the country, be covered by the scheme. Not only that, we've doubled the stipend. So, double the stipend made available only for the Northeast students, because we understood that a lot of them have to migrate out of their state, out of their homes, and obviously their costs are much, much elevated and higher. So therefore, that's something that we have to see how elastic is the demand for apprenticeship. Hopefully, given that we've instituted this reform, our numbers from Northeast should pick up.
Fantastic. I think that will boost the confidence, the aspiration.
Also, on the 24th of this month, from backward aspirational district of Sonbhadra, we'll be inaugurating about 600 skill hubs in Navodaya Vidyalayas and tribal schools. So that's also a specific constituency that we need to work on.
I have one or two more to continue this conversation. One aspect we wanted to hear from you and your thoughts on platforms like National Credit Framework, Skill India Digital, to enable lifelong learning and kind of be a mobility platform for our Indian citizens. I would like to hear from you your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so what we spoke earlier about APAR, there's the Academic Bank of Credit, which is at the back end. So you put in your APAR, and all of these certificates are now part of your DigiLocker. So it is verifiable, you can share that data, you can access the data, it is safe, it is transparent for all stakeholders. And all of this is enabled by the National Credit Framework. So I think that's the key architecture. Once we've really implemented this and everyone understands what this means, it can be really empowering.
Brilliant. I have last question for you. And obviously we talked a lot of actions you're taking today. What is your long-term vision for skilling by 2030? What is the role that you see the private sector can play in enabling that vision and make it real?
Well, our Prime Minister is very, very ambitious. Sometimes he says things and makes, you start wondering, is it really possible? But it's very important to enunciate, to think, to have that ambition and to announce it for people. And one of the most powerful things that we have seen in recent years is the kind of resilience that Indians have and the kind of capacity for helping each other, working towards fulfilling a national obligation or meeting a national aspiration. One of those aspirations is how can we make India a developed country? And he's even put a year to it. It takes a lot of courage. In a space in democracy and politics where we work from one election to the other. That's our cycle. Typically, that's what a politician is expected to do. Here we have someone who's saying what's going to happen in the next 20, 25 years. So I think that is very, very powerful. Along with that, he's understood that that can only be possible if we are also skilled. So he has stated that ambition is India becoming the global skill capital. So I think I would use those words. They're very powerful.
Fantastic. Honorable Minister, it's a pleasure talking to you. And you have laid out the vision, you have laid out the specific actions you're taking, and I'm very impressed with what you've done in the Northeast part of the country and making them, get the right skills, enabling them, intervening when necessary, and your vision in kind of enabling already a lot of action with private sector that I see.
Thank you. I love the Northeast. How many in this room have actually visited Northeast? Wow, that's a big number. Isn't it beautiful country, beautiful people? Yes. Great. Thank you.
Better. Thank you, Minister. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.